It always seems when you take your dog somewhere public that somebody always wants to pet your dog, touch your dog, see your dog, especially if they're a puppy and especially if they're cute little fluffs. I mean, let's admit it, tons of dogs are super cute and we would all like to pet them. But is that appropriate? Should we be allowing people to just pet our dogs whenever? Well, that's what we're going to talk about today. So let's get into it next. All right, let's get into this week's episode. I am your host, Jake, from ondogtrainingacademy.com. That is an online-only dog training website where you could go, and right now we have a course that's running called Welcome Home, and you can get on there. It's an evergreen. You go on when you want to. You take the lessons and the chapters when you want to, and you complete it at your pace, which I think is absolutely awesome and super valuable. And along with that course, you also get to be part of a community that's not Facebook, and where you can share your comments, you can ask questions, and you can get feedback from not only us, but also other participants of that course. So it's a super, super cool thing. Definitely check out ondogtrainingacademy.com. And if you're interested in it, hit that subscribe button in there as well and get on our email list, and we will send you updates and everything about what is happening, all the cool stuff at OnDog. Also, if you'd like, go to our Learn, Laugh, Bark podcast Facebook page. This is a Facebook community, and on there you can tell me what you would like me to talk about. I am all for entertaining you guys and giving you what you would like for me to talk about. So tell me what you want to hear. Get on there. Tell me that you like the podcast. Tell me you don't. Well, maybe don't tell me you don't. I'm a little fragile. But definitely just, get on there and talk to me, and, let's see what things happen. I'd love to definitely do more podcasts and more episodes where I'm talking about listener requests. So let's do it. Let's definitely do it. Today's episode, however, is, I think, a pretty neat one. This one is one that I think might get overlooked more so than other things when it comes to dogs and puppies and socializing and all that stuff. And that's why the headline or the title of this episode is "Don't Pet My Dog." This is basically talk. We just need to talk. We just need to have a talk about what's acceptable, what's not acceptable, and really what we should be doing as dog owners when it comes to interactions with other people as it pertains to with our dogs. And this one's going to be really simple. So you take your dog somewhere public, and let's just say, for the sake of argument, because this is probably where the issue comes up the most and where it's actually the most impactful. Let's just say you have a puppy, and you take this puppy to a park, or you take this puppy out somewhere, and you're just trying to get some socializing and environmental stuff, whatever. And you keep getting inundated by people coming up and going, "Oh my God, I want to pet your dog. Oh my God, I want to pet your dog." What do you do? Now, I think basic thinking, logical thinking, you sit there and you're like, well, I want my dog to be comfortable around people, so I'm going to go ahead and say yes and let this person see my dog. And that's not a bad thing. I'm not saying don't let your dog go up and see people, but I think there needs to be an asterisk next to that. Yes, your dog should meet people, but. And the rule we have when it comes to meeting people is I want my dog to be obedient for me first. And so when it pertains to a puppy, I'm not saying, you have to have a dog who's perfect, but I want a dog who is hanging out with me, eating treats, focusing with me, and that person comes up and the dog continues to focus on me, or at least stays with me, eats treats and everything, and then once I feel like it's good enough, I'll let them go visit. What I don't want to have happen, and I don't want to have start happening, is the dog start to pull towards the person in this frantic, excited state. And then, of course, what happens is the person goes, "Oh my God, your puppy's adorable. Oh my goodness." And then they mush him up and they love him and everything. And you, at that moment, you're like, "Oh, this is so cute. Look how much my puppy loves people." And then this puppy that's, 15 pounds turns into 50 pounds, turns into 60 pounds, turns into 70 pounds or bigger, and is doing the same thing. Sees people, pulls over to people, and is greeting them similar to what they were doing before. And I think that's kind of where people forget. They forget that, you know what, your puppy is going to eventually grow up. And unless you're working on it, behaviors you're seeing as a puppy will stick around. They don't just go away on their own, typically. Some do. This, I promise, won't, because this is rewarding. Your dog is going up and visiting and excited and happy, and that just becomes the greeting norm for the dog. I see people, I get super jacked up, and I pull. And then your solution to this is going to be, well, I'm just not going to let my dog pull. Which sounds like a good idea, and you're not wrong. It's not terrible. However, now you're fighting against a bigger dog, against a leash, and the dog is then getting even more frustrated because now they can't pull hard enough to get to where they need to go, or they just have to try harder, and it amplifies everything. Stress, stimulation, excitement, whatever. And then, of course, typically on the other end of that, the person that your dog wants to go visit either doesn't want them to come visit and they're like, no, go away. Or they're like, oh my God, look at that dog. It's so cute. And so they're feeding into that energy and that stimulation. So I do think it is important for your dog to be around people. Abso-freaking-lutely. But I do think there needs to be some rules applied. And I don't care your dog's age. I don't care if you have an 8-week-old dog or if you have an 8-year-old dog. There should be some rules when it comes to greeting. Now, what the rules are, like I mentioned before, always vary depending on your dog's obedience skill level. But at the very least, your dog should be able to hang out with you while there's another person around eating treats. The dog, not the person. And your dog should be like, you know what? That person's really cool, but I love food. I love hanging out with you. And I'm just going to keep doing this. And then eventually, you can cue your dog into going to say hi or whatever, and they can go up. And typically, it's a little more relaxed. There's not as much stimulation. There's not as much crazy. And I do believe if a person sees you trying to keep the dog calm and under control, when the dog does go up to greet that person, they tend to understand a little bit more that this dog is easily excitable, and they usually tone it down a little bit. I don't say every time, but they definitely seem to tone it down a little bit, which I think is super, super helpful. So you're just kind of setting the stage for everything. So really consider that. Like, I don't want to say my dog should never go want to visit. I want my dog to want to visit. This is why when I'm out in public around people and my dog wants to go visit with someone, I'm not like yanking, cranking, hard correcting my dog. I'm doing more focus work and building value and being with me as opposed to correcting the dog, because I don't want my dog to start building negative associations with strangers and stuff through that correction. So keep that in mind. The same thing I think applies then to if your dog is afraid. Again, if your dog's afraid, you shouldn't be expecting your dog to go out somewhere public and then being like, here, meet this person, here, meet this person, here, meet this person. My biggest thing with this dog, and really any dog, I don't care if it's super social or not, or if it's afraid of people, my goal is always to have a dog that can go out in the public and go, cool, we're here. And whether it's a stress through a fear or an anxiety or a stress through stimulation and excitement, I really don't want my dog to feel like they have to be social or that they want to go and be social with everybody. It sounds really fun and cute, but it ends up being just an absolute pain in the butt. So, with that being said, I want you guys to really be okay with telling somebody no. I've had podcasts before where I say, when you're going to select a puppy, you can say no and walk away. Well, this is the same. Like, if someone comes up to me and they go, hey, can I pet your dog? Well, great. Thank you for asking. But you know what? I'm working on some obedience stuff or whatever. And so I really don't want him being pet right now. Maybe come back later or whatever you want to tell him to do. But I think that it's okay to tell someone no. And you know what? It's okay to hurt someone's feelings. And I've told stories on this before about my wife who had someone come up from behind us, or behind her and our dog at the time. And our dog was a Malinois who, he was friendly, but they have pointy ears. They look very German Shepherdy. It's not a dog that I would just look at and go, well, I can approach and not even care. And this person came up from behind the dog and touched the dog. And then as she touched the dog, she goes, is it okay that I pet him? And my wife, being my wife, and I love her to death for doing this, she said, I was going to let you, but now I'm not. That was not appropriate. And then the lady, of course, had to have a fit and was super upset that she had such a bad day and she needed to touch a dog and whatever. I don't care. Like, it sounds as mean as it sounds. Like, I don't care about your problems. I don't need you to possibly create a problem with my dog or my situation just because you need to touch a dog. So maybe I'm just mean or callous or whatever, but I think it's okay to tell people you can't pet my dog. Absolutely no. And you can be a little more selective on who your dog gets to go see. If someone comes up and they're calm and they're like, hey, I really like your dog. Can I see your dog? You could be like, cool, here your dog, sit, and then you can go let your dog go visit once they've earned it. But if someone comes up super spastic and hyper and crazy and you're like, yo, like this personality is not going to match the personality that I really want interacting with my dog as he's learning how to be like appropriate with people, you can then just tell the person, oh, you know what? No, thanks. He's working right now and whatever. And I don't think you need to do this, but you can always buy vests and collars that say like working, don't touch. Obviously you're not saying it's a service dog or anything, because it's not. And you're just taking this to a place where dogs are already allowed, but you're just putting that feeling or that idea out to people that this dog shouldn't be approached. And I think that's okay. I think giving dog space is okay. And if you're listening to this, the chances are you are a dog lover. And I'm going to tell you this right now too. You don't have to see all the dogs when people bring them out. If people are fine with you petting them, cool. But like, if you see someone struggling with their dog in control, I would definitely just be like, you know what, I'm just not going to go over there. As much as I want to pet this dog, I'm not going to do it just because you maybe can feel their pain. Or you can just be like, well, Jake told me not to, so I'm just not going to do it, I guess. Whatever you have to do, you can be mad at me for telling you not to go pet that dog. That's fine. I'll take it. That's great. But just kind of keep these things in mind. Think about what you want your dog to be like when they're in public. What do you want your dog to be like when they're around people? And apply that. Work on that. Train that. Because it's not going to come up on its own. If you train a dog to be social and crazy with everybody, they're going to be social and crazy with everybody. So work on this, think about this, and really just apply it to your situation. And like I mentioned before, don't be afraid to tell somebody, no, you can't pet my dog. Hurt feelings are fine. If someone's that offended that you wouldn't let them touch your dog, that's on them. That's their problem to work out on their own. It's not mine. Remember, your dog, in that situation, your dog is the most important thing that you need to be worrying about, not the other person. So tell them no, or tell them yes, but make your dog do something for it and earn it first. Don't let them go crazy, pulling, barking, everything, because that won't be good. Well, hopefully, guys, that was helpful for you. Hopefully you figured or learned some stuff from this. I know it was a little bit of a shorter one, but hey, some short episodes are always good. Quick listens are always nice. So think about what I told you guys. Check out ondogtrainingacademy.com. Check out our Learn, Laugh, Bark podcast on Facebook. And we'll see you guys next week.